Hello, my name is Kylie Gazet and I am currently completing a Bachelor of Clinical Exercise Physiology at the University of New England. I'm completing this presentation as part of my assignment for PSYC308, Sport and Exercise Psychology, which is coordinated by Dr. Dominic McNeil. The topic for my presentation is based upon arousal, stress, and anxiety. Arousal is the physiological and psychological state of being, and it refers to intensity dimensions of motivation at a particular point in time. The intensity of arousal can vary from no arousal at all, for example when you are sleeping, to being highly aroused, for example winning a game of football. Arousal does not necessarily mean the individual is feeling joy or happiness. Arousal is more so defined as an active state. Anxiety is a negative emotional state that can be caused by a range of feelings, including nervousness, worry, and apprehension. Anxiety is a form of arousal and is often perceived as negative or unpleasant. However, it does not necessarily affect performance in a negative way. There are two types of anxiety: state anxiety and trait anxiety. State anxiety refers to feelings that are occurring from moment to moment. Spielberg defines state anxiety by characterized by subjective, consciously perceived feelings of apprehension and tension, accompanied by or associated with activation or arousal of the autonomic nervous system. An example of state anxiety could be, in a game of rugby league, a player's level of state anxiety changes throughout the entire duration of the game. The player may experience an elevated level of state anxiety leading to the kick-off of the game and in the final minutes if the game is close. These levels may lower throughout the game as the minutes tick by and the player adjusts to the feel and routine. Trait anxiety refers to the stable tendency to attend to, experience, and report negative emotions such as fears, worries, and anxiety across many situations. This was defined by Gelman and Turner. An example of trait anxiety would be two people playing in a weekend game of rugby league. The individual with high levels of trait anxiety will feel more pressure to win, whereas the individual with lower levels of trait anxiety is just playing the game for the pure enjoyment. The Sport Anxiety Scale was originally developed by Smith, Small, Cumming, and Grosbard. It is one of the more widely used measures in the field and breaks trait anxiety down into three components, as well as the total score. The three components include somatic trait anxiety, the degree to which one typically perceives heightened physical symptoms, such as muscle tension; cognitive trait anxiety, the degree to which one typically worries or has self-doubt; and concentration disruption, the degree to which one typically has concentration disruption during competition. Stress is perceived as the body's reaction to the demands placed on it. Stress often comes about when failure to meet certain requirements may result in consequences. According to a simple model that McGrath proposed, stress consists of four interrelated stages: environmental demand, perception of demand, stress response, and behavioral consequences. Measuring arousal and anxiety. Physiological arousal is defined by the American Psychology Association Dictionary of Psychology as aspects of arousal shown by physiological responses, such as increases in blood pressure and rate of respiration, and decreased activity of the gastrointestinal system. This was defined by Johnson. Other physiological responses include constricted blood vessels, elevated body temperature, elevated heart rate, increased dilation of the eyes, and various others. There are various methods for measuring arousal and anxiety. They may include electroencephalography, also known as EEG, which measures beta brainwaves; spirometry, which measures respiration; electrocardiograph, also known as ECG, which measures heart rate; a blood pressure cuff, which measures blood pressure; electromyograph, or also known as EMG, which measures muscle tension; STAI, also known as State Trait Anxiety Inventory, designed by Spielberg. It includes 40 items of questions, 20 that evaluate how respondents feel about anxiety currently at this moment in time, and 20 that evaluate how people generally feel about anxiety, and the SAS, Sport Anxiety Scale, which is designed to evaluate symptoms of anxiety and levels of anxiety in sport. Theories of anxiety and arousal. The inverted U hypothesis is based on work by Yerkes and Dodson and explores the relationship between arousal and performance. It is based on a series of experiments in which mice perform visual discrimination tasks under weak, moderate, and strong electrical stimulation. Yerkes and Dodson found linear relationship between learning a task of moderate difficulty and stimulation strength. Since their seminal work over a century ago, Yerkes and Dodson's findings have been replicated in numerous taxa with modern techniques and statistical analysis and widely applied to performance in many contexts, including athletic training, workplace conditions, and video games. The Yerkes-Dodson law states that for more challenging tasks, I, moderate arousal can enhance performance in part by modulating motivation, but 2, high levels of arousal can decrease performance through processes such as a reduction in the amount of information that can be processed. The catastrophe model looks at the interaction of cognitive anxiety and physiological arousal effect on performance. The 3 dimensions model is used to predict the interactive effects of cognitive anxiety and physiological arousal upon performance as follows. A. Cognitive anxiety has a positive relationship with performance when physiological arousal is low. B. Cognitive anxiety will have a negative relationship with performance when physiological arousal is high. C. When cognitive anxiety is low, physiological arousal has an inverted U-shaped relationship with performance. And D. When cognitive anxiety is high, increased level of physiological arousal leads to a catastrophic drop in performance. The catastrophe model selects cognitive anxiety as a splitting factor and physiological arousal as the normal factor. The individual zone of optimal functional model, IZOF, is both a theory framework and a practical approach that enables qualitative and quantitative analysis of functional relationship between emotions and performance. It analyzes the athlete's pre-performance state in order to predict the quality of the upcoming performance. The diagram looks at the relationship between state anxiety and performance for 3 different athletes. It demonstrates that anxiety does not always occur at the midpoint of arousal, similar to that of the inverted U hypothesis, but varies throughout individuals. Arousal, stress, and anxiety are all emotions that can affect performance, whether it be in a positive or negative manner. The theories spoken about earlier are only a few examples of the research that has explored the relationship between anxiety, stress, and arousal on performance. It is important to remember that all individuals are different and will therefore react in different ways when put in similar circumstances.